has to make up for it. Or whatever you are using has to make up for it, if that makes sense. Go ahead.
What about not showing you, but showing something other than, like, your cat? Is that something that people do?
I've actually seen people do that.
That's actually super popular right now. I don't know what's caused that to be a thing, but it's actually been like hugely popular. The other option for webcamming is like I know like my friend, what's her name? Angel does a cat cam. My friend Stream Dad does like a pug cam where he does like his little pugs. He does him and his like little dogs or whatever. A lot of people, it seems to be a really popular thing. I don't really know why, but it is. But it's not uncommon to see. I know one of my friends just streamed her cat giving birth to puppies or kittens once. That was a thing. There are things, people just like their cats. My buddy Taller Toast did a Comanche cam, which is basically his baby kitten. So instead of doing his webcam for like a week, he literally just had his cat on cam, and then his cat would just do stuff. And it's a thing. I don't know too much about it. I know people like it. I have no idea why. That's like cats and internet. Same reason people like kitten videos on YouTube.
But on that note, if you don't want to show your face or some of your face because you get super nervous, get you one of these.
Also,
that way you can keep part of your face, and it'll still give you that like I'm Batman feeling, if it's the man behind the mask thing.
right.
So you don't necessarily, you can make your own persona that way if that helps you.
There's another big thing coming up that's like doing really well. Angel in particular, the one who does the cat cam does this. Is a new thing on Steam called Face Rig. If you do PC stream, it basically lets you like create like your own little like 3D avatars, and people use that instead of using webcams. And it's basically like emoji. If you guys have seen like the new emoji app or set up on iPhone, but basically just captures your face and puts like an avatar over it. A lot of people have used it for like all sorts of different stuff, but it lets you create your own character and basically have like a webcam, like you're webcamming, but you're not actually webcamming, so you don't have to worry about like making sure you look good for camera or anything like that. So
Spending 2 hours on makeup.
yeah, I've been debating on using one myself. I've been setting it up to where I feel you, bro. I'm there every other day. But I'm actually setting up with one of my emojis, so like if I'm ever going to do a camless stream, instead of like me doing camless, it's actually just gonna be my avatar, the same one for my stream stuff, but a lot of people have done stuff like that. So like I said, the webcam isn't necessarily required, and there's ways to get around it, but if you're not using a webcam, you have to be doing things to make up for not having that. Because again, people are there for the reaction. As I say, a picture's worth 1,000 words. You got any questions, boss?
I was just gonna add on to the whole like animal thing, camera and whatnot, because I work with other streamers that do the same thing, and their main ones when I do they like to use this clickbait mostly. They'll just have like underneath it for the camera, and then it's like, what was the word? And he has like 2 big dogs that do the Dorothy's things, so they'll like kind of like go play with their bed kind of thing. So it adds to good clickbait.
Yeah.
Before you get people watching, just for that.
And I mean, it's something to help discoverability, you know what I mean? It's something that, I know a lot of them are doing it because it's something that makes them stand out. So I mean, that's something I usually go into a bit more in my partner panel tomorrow, but having something in your stream that makes you stand out right from the get-go is like really big for growing on Twitch in general. I don't know how many people, I've met like countless friends and I've countless people find my streams simply because of like the way my avatar is set up. I have, you guys have the business cards. You guys are new, by the way, because you have some new people. We still have some gift bags up front if you guys want to grab some gift bags. Still have a few up front. But, on my card, my character has the Gurren Lagann glasses, if anybody's like a big fan of anime. I don't know how many people have found my stream simply because they were browsing through the directory and saw like my character's icon and are just like, I know those glasses. Know nothing about me, but you click on my streams, you're like, it looked like it was pretty cool, and you like Gurren Lagann, I like Gurren Lagann, I like where this is going, bro. So I mean, I've met a bunch of people that way who've had Gurren Lagann glasses. One of my other better friends on Twitch named Tier 1 Waifu, I literally clicked on her stream because I saw her name was Tier 1 Waifu, and I'm like, she's probably watches anime. And when I clicked on her stream, her banner was set up with a no game, no life banner, and I was like, and she watches good anime. So I mean, having things that like stand out about your stream to help draw people in your stream is extremely important. That's why, as I was saying before, even everything through your name, it's important that everything that you're showcasing your stream says something about you and is something that would draw people who like that type of thing towards your stream. Some people, like, they come to my streams, they see the Gurren Lagann, they like sub to my stream because they see everybody's got like Naruto-related sub badges. They'll like follow my stream and see that I've got something from Ninja Turtles, but then they also see that I have something related to League of Legends. So like people who like will raid me and they'll be like, oh, I don't really like Dead by Daylight, but like someone will also follow and they'll hear the follow alert and they'll be like, wait, that's Rengar. You play League? I was like, yeah, I play League. And they're like, oh, snaps, I play League too, bro. All right, I was gonna leave, but you're all right with me. So things like that are really important for like viewer retention as well as discoverability on Twitch. It's just making sure you have as much, you want to be able to say as much about yourself without you having to talk as possible when setting up your stream. But, you okay? She was handing out goodie bags and then like backed away from her mic or whatever. What do your alerts and stuff say about you and your stream?
I have a lot of fandoms, that's what they say about me. I think my host alert is beginning of Topsy-Turvy from Disney's Hunchback of Notre Dame, because Disney's life. Almost all of my screens are Harry Potter, because Harry Potter is life. I think one of my plans for one of the emojis that I want to have is going to have a sonic screwdriver instead of a wand in her hands. Because Doctor Who is life. I'm almost always wearing an anime shirt because anime is life. I have a lot of fandoms. That's what my shirt
I feel like you have a lot of lines. You sure you're not a cat or something?
Huh?
Never mind. What's up, boss?
You have to worry about like if you're playing music in the background, copyright,
So the thing with music on Twitch, it's usually, as of right now, it's not a huge big deal. Most people don't really watch your VODs. So what happens if you're listening to copyrighted music while playing on Twitch, your stream will be fine, but your VOD will get muted. There's only been like a handful of very rare cases where people have gotten like actual copyright claims, like similar to YouTube because of it. And there's been like one incident where people had an issue with Maroon 5, and there was another incident with Travis Scott. But both of those, like the streamers reached out to the artists directly and they got it rectified because it wasn't them claiming it was their industry or their label claiming it. But for the most part, it's not a big deal if you want to like listen to copyrighted music. Just know that it will mute your VOD. So if you're planning on like using something from your stream to make a highlight video, you'll have to get a local recording of it. Otherwise, you won't be able to like have sound from the clip due to the fact that it gets muted because of the music. So that's one thing to keep in mind. But other than that, you're fine to listen to copyrighted music. Most people don't watch VODs. There are people who do watch your VODs. Like, I'm learning more about the analytics on this now, but majority of Twitch viewership watches your content while it's live, not during the vlog, like the VOD afterwards. So you're fine for the most part.
Entirely true. I found that when I popped into other people's streams, some people who would watch me chat will actually went back and watched my VODs because I wasn't live at the time, and now 2 of them are muted, so they didn't watch those. But they actually went back and they watched those VODs, and then they went to follow me after, and they're like, yeah, I checked out your VODs. That happens.
Yeah.
So people do it.
I said they're learning the analytics I was giving her.
Okay.
I specifically said that.
Inserted here.
Anyway, they stream for 2 weeks and they think they know everything.
On that note, I mean, I made affiliate in a week. How long did it take you?
I got affiliate the day it came out. Actually.
2 years later. We're good friends. We're okay, I promise.
Anyway, God. Any other questions? Yeah. Anything about Twitch at all? Like, how many days you stream? Can we do a backflip on stream? Anything you guys have questions about?
The answer to that question is no, by the way.
What's up, Buster?
Have you guys tried live streaming through YouTube and compared it to live streaming on Twitch?
I have, personally.
What's the question? I'm sorry, I have my hearing aids in, but if you're really quiet, I still can't hear you.
Oh, I was wondering, have you tried live streaming on YouTube? And did you do the comparison between live streaming on Twitch?
Alright. So, now that we're on to the person who has been affiliated for a while.
I mean, that's cool, so I'm gonna go back to it.
Anyway, so when it comes to streaming on the two, actually, Streamlabs actually published a really interesting report, right, recently talking about like their analytics from watching Twitch streams compared to YouTube streams and things like that. For people who have the ability to stream on YouTube, they've noticed that per stream, there's actually more viewers in a YouTube stream per stream than per Twitch stream right now. I think the average Twitch stream viewership, I think, was like 27, and the average YouTube stream viewership was about 53. So it's actually quite a bit larger. That being said, streaming on YouTube is much different than streaming on Twitch, and there's a lot more rules, and it's a different ecosystem. It's the simplest way to put it. Twitch has always been kind of a bleed purple ecosystem, meaning they've always kind of had a focus on gaming. Like when Twitch started up, the mindset was for gamers by gamers. It's becoming more expansive from there. For those guys who don't know, before it was Twitch TV, it was called Justin TV, and Twitch was an offshoot of Justin. So Justin was a website where you could pretty much stream cooking, singing, dancing, and all these different things. And a lot of the other things kind of didn't make it, but then Twitch just kind of took off. Like the gaming aspect of it took off. And over these past 3 or 4 years, Twitch has been branching out back more into those IRL things, so like singing, dancing, creative work, and things like that. When it comes to YouTube, however, a lot of people, like even I talked to a bunch of buddies of mine, but Harris Hollers is like another really big stream coach. He started on YouTube and at first would generally get more viewers in his YouTube streams than his Twitch streams. However, like in terms of monetization, because so many of the things are new to YouTube, so like having a subscription button on YouTube, or YouTube calls theirs a join button because it's not even the same as a subscription, to be fair. So there's a lot of other stuff that's kind of takes time to get used to. But it's also, like I said, it's just a very different ecosystem. The type of people who comment, I don't know if you've ever read YouTube comments, but the type of people who comment in YouTube isn't necessarily the same type of people who comment on a stream on Twitch. So at first there was a very different style of person there as well. But it's still really early, to be completely fair. Even though YouTube's been around for a while, YouTube, in terms of streaming, is still really new. Another big problem with YouTube is like if you get a copyright strike or a community strike on YouTube, you're actually barred from streaming for 30 or 90 days, which is like really rough, like for anyone who knows like streaming. Similar things are happening on Twitch, but usually they're for much more serious offenses, not for like a copyright strike or anything like that. But it's hard to say, I'm not gonna lie. The research was interesting because there are more viewers. I know shit. I would say there are more viewers, but at the same time, it's also comparing like there being more viewers to there being. You break your arm?
Yes, he did.
I want to talk about.
Cut right through it.
Oh, what is this?
What?
What's going on here?
You got an issue?
Watching YouTube. I'm watching YouTube.
Watch my podcast.
Maybe if you put it on YouTube, I would. Oh, I did see that. Proud of you. Anyway. But yeah, I won't lie. If you DM me on Twitter, I'll shoot you the article or whatever released by Streamlabs, so you can see for yourself. It's still really early to tell, to be completely honest. But I would say if you're doing gaming stuff, streaming is probably like still much better on Twitch in terms of the community. However, if you're doing anything outside of gaming, streaming on YouTube, especially if you already have like a YouTube base, may not be necessarily a terrible thing to do, just to test the waters and see like what it's like to work with that community for yourself. You would probably get somewhat better viewership at first for sure. May not be the best at monetizing that, but like just enjoying, kind of hanging out, interacting with community is probably still really good. What?
I do have an actual question. When you're doing Twitch and when you're starting up, would it be better to just start up with a YouTube channel as well and upload the content that you have on Twitch to your YouTube, or should you just go Twitch solo and then start a YouTube channel?
That's a good question. That is a good question. So one of the things, especially in current stream coach discussion, and kind of just in Twitch discussion in general, is discoverability on Twitch. It is, as it stands right now, really hard to get discovered on Twitch when you're starting out. That's one of the things Twitch is working its hardest to try to work on. And as like a stream coach and like working with other coaches, it's one of the things we're working hardest on for trying to like help people get started and get more acclimated with the industry and like how to basically help you grow your channel. So for right now, it is generally best to start them both around the same time. I wouldn't, however, just upload your broadcast to your YouTube. I would maybe do something like upload your first stream there, just so you can have like, like my very first stream. Major moments on stream do great there, and like even highlight videos or things like that. But I think what I would do personally, depending on what type of game you're playing, is it's different for every game. So I'm not gonna if you're doing something like Fortnite or Apex Legends, what I would recommend is I wouldn't upload all of your games, but I would literally make a highlight of every one of your wins and start by just moving every one of your wins over to your YouTube channel. It's a way to have content on your YouTube. There are people on YouTube who just like watching Fortnite wins or Apex wins and stuff like that. But more importantly, as you're like growing in that, one of the other things I'm like working with people on personally is like basically hiring Fiverr video editors. You can hire a decent video editor on Fiverr to make you a video for like $40. And like if you have a bunch of clips from your wins, usually when you won is usually when you played your best, not always, but it gives you a lot of footage for them to work with to make montages and things from. But it takes a while to decide what type of YouTube content you're gonna make. Some people do YouTube content that's explicitly just their gameplay, like Ninja blew up doing his Fortnite clips. Harris Heller doesn't do any gameplay, but his Twitch channel has grown from him basically dropping stream coach videos. So he does videos basically exclusively about growing on Twitch, but then he has his Twitch stream on the side as well. There's some people I know, Frimmy Fox is another big ASMR artist. She's a Twitch streamer as well. Pretty much her YouTube is entirely just her doing ASMR stuff, but she lets people from her ASMR community know that she streams on Twitch. And on occasion she does ASMR stuff on Twitch, but most of the time she spends on Twitch just playing games as well.
She's not the only one who does that.
Yeah.
I actually follow a couple of ASMRists on YouTube that'll game on Twitch. Though there are those who will do just strictly ASMR on both.
Yeah. But ideally is you wanna, it doesn't necessarily have to be related to the same content you put on Twitch, but ideally right now, the best way to grow on Twitch is essentially off Twitch. So making content on other platforms, whether it be Instagram, Vine, which you guys haven't heard about, the people who own Vine. This is a new thing. I was just talking about this last night with Matt Pat. Vine, basically the creators of Vine, have finally entered beta for their new website. So the guys who made Vine ended up selling Vine to Twitter because they couldn't figure out how to monetize Vine. So they're basically, Vine 2 is basically in beta finally, and it's gonna be called Byte, B-Y-T-E. So that'll be coming out pretty soon. But whether it be, Musically, TikTok, Vine, by Twitter, I know the same thing. Well, Musically got bought by the guy who did TikTok, whatever. Anyway, but whether it's whatever platform you're on, Instagram, whatever, a bunch of artists do this where they do their artwork on Instagram, and then they'll put on an Instagram post, hey, I'm gonna be live on Twitch for a little bit, and that's how they've grown on Twitch art and stuff like that. So it doesn't necessarily have to be related to gaming, but putting some form of content out somewhere else and then linking it back to your Twitch is probably one of the best ways and fastest ways to grow consistently on Twitch right now. And then once you have some base growth on Twitch, it's kind of like a thing that feeds into stuff. As you start growing on Twitch, other people notice, and then you'll start having more discoverability on Twitch. But as it stands right now, outside of the few things that Twitch has done, majority of your discoverability on Twitch is either going to come from the front page, the recommended page, or being on the top of your game directory, whatever your directory is.
On that note, I will say that Instagram, not that Instagram is real, obviously it's real, but I mean, I dropped like selfies. He told me to focus on Instagram this week and last week, and it actually worked. Is I do like open mics and stuff like that, and I post random selfies, and because I eat gluten-free, because I have to, I'll post like food on there, and that's actually brought people into my stream. Because I'll drop the hashtag Lisa Lumos and hashtags on Instagram are lifesavers. They bring people over that don't know you. Remember when I first got like my first 20 people I didn't know, I'm like, who the Jesus, what, why? Why do you care? I mean, thank you, but why?
Yeah, every platform has to be treated differently. Like the way you use hashtags on Instagram isn't the same way you use hashtags on Twitter. And what you post, the videos you post on Twitter aren't the same videos you post on YouTube, and so on and so forth. So it takes some time to learn them. I wouldn't stress out too much on trying to do everything everywhere. I would say usually a lot of people pick it's like, you know, the 80-20 rule or the 79-21 rule, as Gary Vee puts it, is that 79% of your stuff should be focused on like whatever your main platform is. So like for now, if you're starting out, I would say focus 79% of your attention on learning your Twitch and growing your Twitch. But then the other 21% of what you're doing should be, you know, learning how to do YouTube a little bit, learning how to do Twitter a little bit, learning how to do, you know, Instagram a little bit. So you're not super focused and stressed on those, but still putting some attention to those, and then you learning how to leverage those to help your Twitch grow in different ways. Cool? So.
I have a question. I just got my Elgato and everything like that. I got it all over the computer.
Internal or external?
External.
External, okay.
Yeah. So as far as like editing goes, like I haven't edited anything. I literally just like plugged it in. I still got to get the HDMI, my port to plug it into the TV or the PlayStation to get it going off of that. When it comes to editing, do you only need like that editing software? Can you edit like what you do there to like people on like YouTube, Twitch, everything from the Elgato thing, or do you need like another editing?
The Elgato has actually a pretty good built-in editor. It's actually like way better than it should be. To be fair, because I've already learned how to use Premiere before I got into like streaming, like with Elgato and stuff like that, I've always used Premiere and just taking the clips from there. However, if you're just going to be like so just starting out, the Elgato editor, the free editor you get with Elgato is actually, for the most part, probably more than enough for editing some gameplay clips together, as long as the audio and sound and everything gets recorded properly with it. I know sometimes I've had some issues with my mic pickup or my team pickup, like the other people getting heard while using the Elgato. If you have an NVIDIA graphics card, another good recording software is their NVIDIA Shadow Player, which is really good. I wish I had a list. I'll try to make sure I have it tomorrow for tomorrow's panel. There's a couple other free editing softwares you can get for PC or for Mac that are also really good, but it's not, as long as you can trim it, as long as you can trim it and add other audio, so like add music or add voiceover or whatever to it, that's all you really need. You don't need to be able to do anything super crazy or anything like that. 90% of like what you see does really well doesn't use anything really advanced like Premiere or any of that stuff is actually capable of. At best, what they use Premiere for is like quick shortcuts to do stuff that you can do in just about any video editor, like black and white mode and things like that, or the Roblox oof sound, like oof, whatever, like however that goes. Like most of that stuff is just downloaded from YouTube or downloaded from some website where they have the sound clip and then just kind of chopped and screwed into their video. So, yeah. You have a question?
I actually wanted to add to that. If you check on Humble Bundle, they have a lot of good deals. Check depending on month to month. If you need video editing software and such, it's cheap as hell. I got a copy of Expo 16, which is normally $400 or $500, $25.
Yeah, Humble Bundle does that a lot with Sony Vegas and stuff like that. I keep seeing your horns and thinking your horns are like your hand and you're asking a question, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I just keep thinking that's like a hand raise, and that's why I keep blinking back over there. I realize that there are horns, but I just, yeah. Anyway.
It's better than me. I keep staring at the unicorn because it's a unicorn. So like I'll like my eyes will scan and I'm like, hey, and then I'll keep like scanning. I'll stop on you every time. I'm just staring at you. It's cool.
All right.
It's fine.
Well, for those of you guys who don't know, I don't know how many of you guys are actually visiting or locals or visiting from out of town for the convention, but again, if you guys already know, my name is Shiro Basu. I'm your gaming and anime ninja, and this is my manager and new apprentice, I guess. Apprentice? Is that what right? I'm going with apprentice. She doesn't like it, but it seems like it fit.
So when we started this out, I was an apprentice. I've now like the channel is mine. I'm not growing it for experimental reasons. I'm growing it because I like it. Okay, so apprentice still works. All right, cool. So remember when you said I was a cat? You know what happens after you become a cat?
Anyway, for those of you guys who are local though, we do local streamer meetups here in town. With her help, we usually host them about once a month. We just met at GameWorks a couple of days ago, like a week ago, yeah.
Last weekend.
Yeah, last weekend we met up. Yeah, we met up at GameWorks on Saturday.
We give out goodie bags.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there are more goodie bags. The month before that, we were at the esports lounge wall. This coming month, I believe we'll be at the esports arena Luxor, where they'll be doing the same place they'll be doing the after party here for it. So if you guys are ever local and interested in learning more about Twitch or hanging out with other Twitch streamers, feel free to hit me up on Twitter and find out and follow me for more stuff like that. I also have 2 more panels at this convention over the course of the weekend. If you guys are going to be coming up any more days, tomorrow I'll be doing a panel for how to go full time. We're basically those transitioning from being an affiliate to making the push for partners. So if you're interested in what it's like to be a full-time streamer and content creator, I highly recommend you come to that. And Sunday I'll also be doing a panel called The Dark Side of Twitch. Well, basically I'll be dealing with all of the things that most people don't go over in these panels. So like how to deal with things like getting swatted, doxing, stalkers, trolls, streamer beefs,
Being a female.
all of them being black.
I don't think she don't have much experience in that one.
You'd be surprised actually. I get hit on a lot. It's really weird.
Being a female?
Listen.
Being a minority is like a similar crap that you have to deal with.
But also all sorts of stuff like how to deal with like brand deals, how to deal with like companies not paying you, or companies trying to take advantage of you, things like that. You guys probably, some of you guys may have heard about the Defy deal that went down recently, where like there was this multi-channel network that stole a bunch of money from a bunch of YouTubers basically. So basically how to avoid those things, what best practices to do if you feel like you're in one of those situations, and then what you might want to look into to prevent, like how to check to make sure a company's backed up to prevent that from happening, things like that. But I'll be doing a lot of different Twitch content around, so if you guys have any questions about this or anything else, please feel free. But other than that, we still got like 15 minutes if anyone has any questions, but for the most part, that's all I got for you guys today. Any last questions before we go?
Why are you using Windows?
Right, I think we're going to ignore that question.
How do you keep from being like put in a box? My biggest thing is like, I want to start a channel. Like, I've looked at every other people's channels. Like, there's only very select number of creators that are able to pretty much like play whatever they want. Like, most people, like, they play something for like a really long time. Like, they're close enough. Like, you can't play nothing else. You know, do this. Like, you start putting that box. Like, you know what?
Right?
I don't know what the scratching was. Do you?
I don't know what the scratch was either. I'm not gonna lie. It's rude. He's talking.
A. B. I've noticed from watching him, watching others, and doing my own thing, if you want to be a variety streamer, it is going to take you longer. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. People go on to his streams to watch him generally play DDD.
Dead by daylight.
Yes. If they go onto a stream and he's playing League of Legends, he's also known for League of Legends, so that's fine. But if he decides to play Donkey Kong, it's not going to be the same thing. And some of his viewers may decide not to watch that. So in a way, he is stuck in a box. But if he wanted to get out of it, he can. It's going to take time. I know some variety streamers on retro, because there's really only, I mean, unless you're doing speed runs, you're doing variety. It takes a lot longer. There's like maybe 5 people who have over 100 viewers. And as I watch them and I listen to them talk about it, because I've sat down and I've listened to them talk about it, they've been streaming for 3-4 years, and they've been pushing and pushing and pushing. They have things that set them apart, like they do dances, or they have like awesome emotes, or they're extremely big on like YouTube for speedruns, or other things like that. They have those outer sources. You can do it as a variety streamer. It's just, you gotta be patient.
Yeah. So like the big thing with even the top variety streamers is all of them at one point were also in a box. For example, if you look at, say, so for someone like Summit1G, right, who's probably like one of the biggest streamers on Twitch right now, he blew up playing Counter-Strike. That's all he did for the longest time. He was even on a pro team for a little bit. So like he was really big playing Counter-Strike, and the reason why he was able to grow out of it was eventually he switched games and just dealt with the fact that there's going to be drop-off. Like, he went from streaming for 40,000 people playing Counter-Strike to streaming for 10,000 people playing, Miscreated or whatever else he plays. These last 2 months, he's been playing GTA RP online. He's been doing 50,000 people playing GTA RP. And he went to go play Escape from Tarkov and only had like 15K viewers. So even the big guys or the big variety streamers, they have drop-off. Admiral Barber is probably one of the biggest variety streamers that I can think of off the top of my head. But like, he's a variety streamer who streams what he wants. But if he decides that he wants to play Borderlands, then he'll have 20K viewers. If he decides he wants to play XCOM, then he'll have 5K viewers. So it's one of those things where, at the end of the day, people watch streams as entertainment, especially once you get to like that level. If I turn on Dragon Ball Z and they're wearing Sailor Scout outfits, I'm probably gonna change the channel.
I'm gonna watch, but
I might stay just to see what's going on. I might stay just long enough to try to figure out what's going on, but I'm probably, if they're still in Sailor Scout outfits the next day, probably gonna tune out of DBZ.
still gonna watch.
I'll show up back, when the Saiyan Saga's going on again or whatever. So at the end of the day, like, people are gonna tune in for the things they want to see, and they're gonna tune out for the things they don't. The big thing is just to not get yourself so wrapped up in it. The other thing too is, again, is just gonna be doubling back on making sure they come to you for you, and that's gonna be a big part of like making sure you have content, some other form of content somewhere else, like that's like helping promote you. So like Suzy, for example, he can stream Killer Instinct, but if he streams on Twitch, he can stream Killer Instinct to 5,000 people, but then he can also stream Angry Birds to 5,000 people, because the people that are there to see Suzy are there for Suzy because of his animated videos and things like that he's done. So they're there for him. So regardless of what he plays, they're going to be there for him, and those numbers aren't going to change much. But again, that's because of everything he's done on YouTube, and if he did the same thing on YouTube, or if he decided to stream him animating on YouTube, he would be at like 20,000 viewers, or if he premiered his video on Twitch, he'd be at 30,000 viewers, or so on and so forth. So it's like, at the end of the day, it's just acknowledging there's going to be some differential based on it, and then just, being okay with that, and then just focusing on having a good time. The way Summit kind of broke the system, if you would, recently of CFDs was when he was jumping around from game to game, instead of trying to focus on what games and the numbers, he just tried focusing on having the most fun and having the most entertaining stream, and eventually the numbers just kind of came with that. Like, he was doing, he refused to do Fortnite, because he hated Fortnite like so many other people did. He played Apex for a little bit, but didn't get super big on the Apex Legends train. But when everybody was playing Apex, when everybody was playing Fortnite, when everybody said those were the two big games on Twitch, He just decided to play Sea of Thieves. He stuck with it. He found a way to make PvP super fun and like super entertaining. And then literally like Ninja and all the big streamers who were playing Fortnite were trying to play Sea of Thieves to copy him. So it's like he made it entertaining and made it like his main game, but also made it the place to be in. He did the same thing now recently with GTA RP, and I'm sure he'll probably do it again and again and again because he's understand that if you're having an enjoyable stream and as long as you're enjoying yourself, you're gonna be more entertaining, and if you're able to be more entertaining, that's what's gonna bring more viewers in and gonna bring more viewers back. So, cool.
On that note, you have to have a sense of humor about yourself. If you're dying a lot, or if you get ragey, or what have you, you need to be able to laugh at yourself, the mistakes that you make while you're on stream. I laugh at myself constantly.
I disagree with all of this.
To each their own, I suppose.
I played God of War. If you lulled when I died in chat, you got banned.
Yes. Not kidding though.
I had a moderator who was just like, yo, it was like this death of war. It's like, how many deaths have you had? And I'm like, be gone, boy. Do not speak to me directly.
It was still humorous, which is the point.
Boy, it was not very funny.
Mind you, if somebody like me goes and like gets super ragey and gets frustrated when people joke about me dying all the time, no one's gonna want to come to my stream. I make fun of how many times I die. I put that in the title. Like, I do nothing but make fun of myself while I'm on stream in a loving way, as opposed to like I hate myself kind of way. And it works. And it's good to have a sense of humor about yourself. That way you're not gonna end up being, what was the word you used for soft, I think? Or get mad at things that they shouldn't get mad at?
I do not know.
Yeah. So
I do not laugh.
You don't end up being toxic.
Fair enough. Alright, that's going, for sure. That's pretty much going to be our time for the evening. Again, if you guys have any personal questions or like that, feel free to reach out on Twitter. We'll be back in here again for the partner panel tomorrow. But thank you all again for coming. I'll see you guys a little bit later, alright?